Hey folks, Nicholas Field here, and in this video, I'm looking at the most powerful bag-friendly RF distributor and splitter available on the market. That's the BSRF AS-84. Now, if you don't know why a production sound mixer might want an RF distro, I would recommend pausing this video and checking out my video on antennas for a solid primer on the subject. Without further ado, let's get started. BSRF is a boutique manufacturer of RF products based in France. They have a reputation in the film sound world as being the producers of some of the most highly spec'd products on the market. And since their inception in 2017, their gear has found a home in professional sound carts and bags around the world. Recently, BSRF released a piece of equipment that changes the game for a lot of production sound mixers by including features never before seen in a bag-friendly unit. That piece of equipment is the BSRF AS-84. The AS-84 is an antenna combiner/splitter that can be used with 4 diversity receivers and 2 sets of antennas. With the prevalence of quad receivers, this means that the AS-84 can help distribute 16 channels of wireless. So what makes this unit so special? Well, there are 2 main things about the AS-84 that are quite unique. So let's plug it in and take a look. The unit's powered via 4-pin Hiroshi, and we've got a little cable here. Just going to plug it into a distro off screen and plug it in here. There's no built-in power switch. It just automatically powers on when DC is supplied. So the first thing you'll notice is that the screen has a tunable filter, and actually there are 2 filters in this device that one can switch between. The first filter is a wideband filter from 470 to 700 megahertz, and it's worth noting that users can actually edit this filter to be any width that they choose. So you'll see here, mine is set from 470 to 663, and that's just the maximum bandwidth of my WYSICOM wireless. The second filter is a narrowband tunable filter, and the width of this filter is adjustable between 50 and 70 megahertz, and it can very quickly and easily be moved along the spectrum by turning the knob. As you can see, I'm just moving this filter along, and you can set it wherever you want within the spectrum that is available to you. I'll be testing out the filter later in the video to showcase how powerful it is. The second feature that sets this unit apart is the antenna splitter. Yes, you can use this to effectively set up and manage multiple antenna zones on location. And this lends a lot of flexibility to any mixer's workflow, whether it's a complex shoot or not. So the way I tend to use the zones is rather simple. I usually just keep my dipole antennas plugged into the bottom of the unit and leave the top inputs easily accessible. I have these little covers here just to protect the inputs from dust. But when I'm in cart mode, I can just plug in some LPDAs on a mast and they're ready to rock. And the cool thing about using the zones in this way is that one effectively has the ability to run a diversity setup that gains the directionality of the shark fins and the polarization diversity of the dipole antennas. So it's kind of like a more hardcore diversity fin setup. Additionally, the ability to set up zones makes walk-in talks and covering large multi-room sets a lot more manageable. The AS-84 offers DC over BNC for active antennas, so you can handle long runs of coax to different zones. And in practice, utilizing the zones is foolproof. You simply plug in your antennas and choose the desired zone setting, which is either 1, 2, or 1 and 2. It's worth noting that you can change zones without any interruption in reception. So now that we've covered the basics, let's take a look at the performance of the filter. Okay, so I've got my AS-84 here, and it's plugged into a TX Advanced rig via an SMA cable, and then I've just plugged in one dipole antenna right here, so we can determine the difference of the noise floor when we have the filter engaged versus when it's disengaged, okay? And so what we're gonna do is just run a loop scan, and we're gonna start with the filter just in the wideband setting, and then we're gonna engage the narrowband filter on the duplex gap so we can see how much out of bound noise is reduced, okay? So we'll start a fresh scan here. And this is just going to be the unfiltered environment around us, okay? So now I'm going to turn on the narrowband filter because we're coming to the end. Oops. Okay, it's engaged. And as you can see, looks like it's around 5 decibels lower noise floor with the filter engaged. And we can even look at some of these areas here. Yeah, this is clearly probably around 6 decibels lower noise floor. So it's a pretty obvious reduction in the noise floor that the front end filters on your receiver will have to deal with when you're running this distro. So what this means is that your receivers are getting a signal that's been pre-filtered, which can only really have a positive impact on your signal integrity. So now that we've covered some of the amazing things about this distro, let's talk about some of the things that I don't like about it. The biggest critique that I have with the AS-84 is the quality control of the finished product. Now, I don't doubt that BSRF used the highest quality components to achieve the listed specs on their products, but I feel like they missed the mark on some of the user experience aspects. For example, this knob is the only way to interface with a unit. So users have to engage with this rotary button every time they use the AS-84, and to me it really just feels like cheap plastic. My contention is that this could have easily been a nice third-party knob for 50 cents. I have this old synthesizer knob here that feels way better. The other QC thing that fell through the cracks on my unit was the crooked screen. I emailed BSRF about this and they told me how to open the unit and adjust it, and I just couldn't seem to manage it. So to me, for the price of this piece of equipment, that type of thing shouldn't make it past the factory gates. Now, the final thing I'll point out about the AS-84 is not so much a criticism as an observation, and that is that it's still quite large. It's definitely the biggest component in my bag. However, it's worth mentioning that no other baggable RF distro on this planet offers this feature set at a smaller size, so obviously this thing is still best in class. And although it's dimensionally a bit chunky, it is extremely lightweight. At 250 grams, it's actually 5 grams lighter than its younger sibling, the AS-62. So if you really want a dimensionally smaller distro, you can get their tiny AS-62 or one of the many other small distros that don't offer features like zones or filtering. All in all, I would definitely recommend the AS-84 as a trusted companion for managing your RF on all sorts of projects, ranging from documentaries, commercials, and feature films. Being able to run a multi-zone setup from a small sound bag is truly a game changer for production sound mixers. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and follow my channel. I encourage you to leave comments and questions so that we can all learn more and improve our craft. Peace.